Harvard University returned a Tomahawk that once belonged to his distant relative. We first told you about his mission to get it back last year.
And News on 6's Jonathan Cooper is live this afternoon with how it finally happened. Jonathan?
Brian and Shannon, that Tomahawk once belonged to Chief Standing Bear of the Ponca tribe. Now is back in the Midwest. More than a year after Brett Chapman first set out to get a Native American artifact returned to the Ponca tribe, the Tulsa attorney says his goal is complete. Harvard University has returned this Tomahawk that once belonged to Ponca Chief Standing Bear.
It means a lot. It's a recognition, one, that we're still here, and it's a respectful act on their part, too.
Chapman, who is a descendant of the Native American civil rights leader, sent a letter to Harvard in early 2021 asking university leaders to take the Tomahawk out of the Peabody Museum and return it to the tribe.
We're in this time where people are understanding that it's very important to give things like these back or to recognize maybe the history of these things.
Chapman says the artifact has deep meanings to tribal members. Standing Bear gave the Tomahawk as a gift to an attorney representing him in a landmark civil rights case in 1879. That Tomahawk was eventually passed down and given to Harvard more than 100 years later. Chapman says the university has now not only agreed to return the Tomahawk, but also funeral artifacts of a Ponca woman.
That was actually a real life person that, had a real life, and they deserve to be treated with respect.
The Ponca tribe of Nebraska now has possession of both, and Chapman says future plans are in the works.
So if, the Ponca tribe up there wants to put it in a museum, that's great. If they want to keep it tuckered away and kind of make it a ceremonial item, that's their decision too.
The first steps in a process almost a century in the making. For Niska First Nation Chief Simoga Nisjol, it is a moment of deep importance to his family, the beginning of the journey home for the Nisjol Memorial Totem Pole from its current location in the National Museum of Scotland.
Today was probably one of the most happy days in my life, because I'm really, really emotional right now, and I could feel my ancestral grandmother.
The 11-meter pole was carved in the 1860s and depicts a warrior destined to be chief who was killed in battle with a neighbouring nation. Canadian anthropologist Marius Barbeau bought it in 1929, but Niska Nation members say no one would have had the right to sell something so sacred.
When a pole is carved, just right before it's to be raised, there is a ceremony that's performed, and the carver breathes life back into that pole. And so from that point forward, once it's raised, we consider it to be a living being, and that it has its own spirit. So each one represents a sort of constitutional chapter about the Niska peoples and our relationship to the lands that we belong.
Rather than a repatriation, the Niska called this a rematriation, in line with their matrilineal society. Moving it to the British Columbia First Nation will be a huge operation.
Es mit dem Medical Day am Tumult mit dem Kalokschen Haig und Law. Es lag aus der Psomani gehen kann will.